Legacy media is falling apart, and as it crumbles, a void is opening, a void that we intend to fill. The big legacy news networks currently average just 1.2 million viewers a weeknight, and those numbers are only going to get lower. Legacy media is dying, and the younger generation has moved on. Legacy media panders. Legacy media lies. Legacy media does not know what the truth is, and they don't care about it. Legacy media is a dumpster fire. This is why we few in our wild imaginations have started the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Our goal is to take down the legacy media giant of the last 50 years with our 5 stones. We started in 2016 with our flagship show, CrossPolitic. Since those small beginnings, we now air on DirecTV. Our broader podcast network now gets over 4 million downloads a year. And our Fight Laugh Feast Pub, which includes TV shows like This America, The Rowdy Christian's Guide, Pastors in Politics, and As the Lord Pleases, with your support, many more to come. Our goal is to become the flagship new media 2.0 network over the next 50 years and take over nightly news, sports, sitcoms, hunting shows, and more, all conveniently stored for you in our Fight Laugh Feast Pub. We're already reaching the next generation through our podcast shows on YouTube, X, and our pub, while also tapping into legacy media audiences by airing our shows on TV through DirecTV and Xfinity. We have made a lot of progress with some duct tape and a good bit of intuition and a lot of sweat. And now we need your support more than ever. The TV networks have had such a negative impact on our households, and we're trying, by the grace of God, to put a stop to that. We have the opportunity. We just need the army. Now more than ever, we need you to join our pub to help us reach our goal of 1 million pub supporters in the next 5 years. There's no way around it. Competing with Fox and the Alphabet networks without money is virtually impossible. It's cheap for you to join. And when you do, you're combining your small monthly support with a growing army of like-minded Christians. We have thousands, we need millions. So if you want more of the Alphabet network's misinformation and lies, don't join. But if you want to give us a mere 5 stones, then please join the pub, and together we will take a swing at the head of big media, all the while fighting, laughing, and feasting to the glory of God.
Hey y'all, welcome to CrossPolitic Live. As you're getting up to speed on this, every Monday afternoon we're going live, and every Tuesday 10:30, 11:30 Pacific time we are going live. We want to hang with you, so thank you for joining us.
What kind of hang?
Like live show hanging. Well,
not like
we're all going to hang together one way or another.
Not like lynching trees hanging. The gallows of Haman hanging.
Hang by yourself on that one. All right.
So we're actually live on Twitter /X.
And we got a few folks on Instagram.
YouTube, and we got some people on Instagram at the back here.
Looking at the back of our heads.
Yeah. YouTube, and then are we live on Rumble, Neil? Or we are live on Rumble. Okay, cool. And then
hello Rumble.
Facebook. Are we live on LinkedIn?
No.
Oh, we aren't live on LinkedIn yet.
Okay.
We're not that special. So please, actually, this is gonna be pretty free flowing conversation as we're live today. But one of the things I want to talk about is it's been a long time. We started in 2016.
Yep.
When did CBS start? Was it 40s? 40s?
I don't know.
I think
you should have asked that question to your producers before you started going live.
Well, legacy media has been around for a long time. Been around and has had a massive influence on our what's so funny
I'm
about
looking
that?
at Pastor Toby right now, and he's so uncomfortable with this. Go ahead.
He's just smiling. He's like, I don't know what to do or say.
No, he's wondering where you're going. Yeah.
So legacy media has been around for a long time.
I don't think Gabe knows where he's going.
Yeah, that's what scares you. Yeah.
That's the thing.
Is that what scares you?
Yeah, you just asked yourself a question you didn't know the answer to.
So, you know what?
All right, guys, you listen to CrossPolitic because you want to make an impact. I'm just going to interrupt and we'll start over in a second. That impact requires time and money. Allow us to introduce you to Dominion Wealth. They can't buy you more time, but they can help you build wealth over time. Get that? With holistic financial strategies, including budgeting, insurance, investments, estate planning, and more. The mission of Dominion Wealth is not just to individuals, but to the broader Christian community. To educate, advise, and build plans to reduce your donation to Caesar. Oh, yes. Take my money.
It's not a donation.
So you can, yeah, right. Yeah.
It's not a donation.
So you can maximize your gift to God with strategies like family banking and capital maximization growth strategies. No matter your tax bracket, there are solutions for every fiscal stage of life at Dominion and for your children. And if you and your spouse want to take dominion over your finances, book a complimentary consultation at reformed.money. That's reformed.money. From baptism to burial, Dominion has you covered. Once again, that's reformed.money to book a complimentary consultation.
That was perfect. You gave Gabe some time to think about what it is he wanted to say, because now he's on his phone texting. What are you doing?
I'm seeing when CBS started.
Oh, you know what's great about live shows is you actually get a chance to see how production is done here. And so this show is designed to encourage you that if you ever wanted to start a podcast, you say, man, I'm not that good at this. Ta-da!
Wow.
You could do it too.
Us.
You could do it too.
It's interesting. CBS was founded September 18th, 1927.
27. Yeah, you were only two decades off.
I was way off.
Oh, right.
Why is that important?
Because mainstream media has been around now for
100
almost
years.
100 years.
100 years, CBS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And with what's happened with the internet and kind of what I would call media 2.0, it's been really hard to fight legacy media. It's been really hard to take down legacy media. I mean, didn't Fox start in like 70s and 80s?
I don't know.
Fox
That's another question you should.
I'm gonna do that.
Ask another question.
As a journalist, you're not supposed to ask questions you don't know the answer to.
ABC started in 1943.
Okay.
There you go.
This is why AI needs to exist.
Right.
Oh, you know what I can do? Hold on. While Gabe's figuring this out, I got some help.
A little bit of brotherly ribbing is good for us all. Hey, I like it.
You need some glasses? That's what
Fox started in October 9th, 1986.
Oh, you're right. 80s.
So, yeah.
86.
80s. So CBS, 1927, 100 years. But they really kind of have had a monopoly kind of on the voice of American news and culture.
Yeah.
And that monopoly has been hard to break, largely also because like cable companies.
I don't think,
and licensing that to get public licensing to remember the old TV you used to have your antenna and stuff.
Yeah.
Your antenna to get like the Dallas market to be able to have a TV antenna, you had to pay the licensing fee for that for Dallas and then LA and whatever. Right. And so it was really hard. And then with the birth of the internet, and then you started having like the social media stuff start happening, Twitter, Facebook. God has really, I think, opened a door to put a crack in legacy media, to put a dent in it. And I think also legacy media's had this massive run of distrust now that's happened. COVID did a lot to legacy media, a lot of damage to legacy media. I mean, even Newsmax is kind of like I guess more of like a media 2.0. They were running Pfizer commercials.
Yeah.
Even Newsmax was apologizing. Remember they got their lawyers out and they apologized. And they had like a legal letter that they read on Newsmax. They apologized to Pfizer for doing misinformation for the vaccine and stuff. And Newsmax is supposed to be like kind of a newer media, conservative, Trump organization or Trumpian, like ABC.
But Trump celebrates the vaccine.
Yep, I know. Which is crazy. Jeremy Morris says that ABC spun off from NBC when they had the red and blue radio networks. I wonder if that gets to Republican, red or blue.
By the way, I just want to say right now that I'm in first person view on my Instagram channel. So if you want to see what Toby and Gabe look like from my perspective, you can actually jump over to my Instagram and see that right now too. So this is a fun inception moment right now is happening on CP. As you're talking about.
Them's not regular glasses, is it?
No, I didn't. Them Meta Ray-Bans. Yeah, I can do videos and let's just say I completely disagree with Gabe. Get your hand out my face. Get your hand out.
So that's a video camera.
Right. You see the vid right. You can move your hand now. You can move it. You're pointing my eyeballs.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Thank you. I just completely disagree with you, but I'm gonna let you finish your point on legacy media. Go ahead.
That's incredible.
Completely disagrees with you.
Oh, yeah, but
that's fine. So, but when we started CrossPolitic in 2016, I remember the first download we got from Australia.
Oh,
I remember. I don't know if you guys remember this. I remember I was like, guys, we got people in Australia listening to us.
Yep.
And it kind of blew my mind. It
was probably the Australian government.
It probably was. They're leaking into our.
Listen.
But I remember that just. I knew the internet's everywhere, but when someone actually downloads your show from another country,
yeah,
you're like, wow, look how God can use this medium. And then when we started CrossPolitic in 2016, a couple years later, we started the concept of the Fight, Laugh, Feast Network. And the reason why we started the Fight, Laugh, Feast Network was because God had given us a voice and a kind of a platform, and we didn't want us to be all about politics and faith. We
were worried about the evangelical diet a lot. And one of the things that we found, there was only one person, really, two groups of people that I think really gave us a shot as far as put us on. Apologia. Yeah. You will not see this, and I talk about this all the time, but Apologia put our show's commercial on their podcast and played it for like a year or two. Yeah. And so a lot of people found us. There goes Niels. A lot of people found us through Apologia. Yeah. And then the other person, and I will always say this, Pastor Doug Wilson, like, we're going to do a podcast. Sure, I'll be on. Nobody else will come, and Pastor Wilson shows up. And so between those two is the reason we started growing. And so we made it a very important decision at the beginning. Say, okay, if God blesses us to grow, what are other voices that people need to hear that are outside of us? We don't want to hold things so tight that it's just about what we do at CrossPolitic. How can we bless others? And so we found the 5 guys we thought fit with us well, but that were somewhat different than us, and we started the network with those guys.
Yeah, the podcast.
Yep.
AD Robles.
Yep.
He's with us from the jump.
Marcus Pittman at the time was recording.
Marcus Pittman, Jason Farley, Westminster Confession of Funk.
Yep, that's right.
Early on.
Because we knew we wanted to stay in the lane, and there was a lot of other things that the evangelical diet needed that we weren't hitting.
That's right. Hey, someone from Pakistan. Welcome. And then we had In the Bullpen with Mark Dewey.
He's still doing his thing.
And we still, so part of what we want to do at the network, as the Lord wills, and as we have money and technology, is we want to continue to expand the network. We got shows in Canada. I would like to have shows in the UK, shows in Australia, shows in some key countries that I think really kind of need the Fight, Laugh, Feast vision and everything. And then this is kind of my goal is really Fox brought in $13 billion last year, and so I really, it's a big play trying to compete with all the networks. You have to have money. You guys just, if you guys didn't see the opening of the show, we have a new ad out talking about supporting our network and everything. Right now, mainstream media averages about 1.2 million views a night on their news. Fox gets about 1.8 million, and then I think CNN gets like 1 million or something like that. But the average from mainstream media in the news is 1.2 million. And I remember when CNN dropped their app, and then 3 weeks later scrapped it. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
That was like 3 or 4 years ago.
CNN Plus or something like that. Yeah.
They scrapped it because we got more downloads audibly on our platform than CNN did when they dropped it that first month. I don't think mainstream media has got the internet like Media 2.0 does. Mainstream media, legacy media, has the old recollection and the old branding of this is where all the eyes are at, but it's not like that anymore.
Can I give you my take on this?
Sure. Yeah.
So I think of it more as Old Covenant, New Covenant. The way that I've been thinking about this.
Yeah, okay.
And so the Old Covenant, the way the old thing was set up, the old media that Gabe is talking about, you had 4 areas of operation, and that was about it. You had billboards, okay, public, outside, anything like that. You had print, you had radio, and you had TV. That was the 4 ways. If you're going to get anything out to the public, that was it. And here's the problem with that. If I'm a company I can buy all the billboards in the town. If I have a bag, I can buy all the billboards in town, and your company cannot get on any of those billboards. I just shut you out.
Yep, locked.
Old Covenant had a limited ability to get out. It was limited. It was local. It was that environment, and it could be controlled in a certain way. And so if I owned a magazine, I can buy all the spots in the magazine. If it's on TV, there's only so many ads on TV. I can control the ads on TV. Right. If it's on radio, I can control all that. Same. It's locked in. You can't get in there. So smaller companies have to try really hard. They can only throw they have to pick their spots, right? It's not open. We just walked into a new covenant era with this internet that people really haven't grasped at all yet. Yeah. They haven't grasped. And so they still live. I think we're living in the transition between the old covenant, new covenant, as it relates to social media too, where now no one can stop you from getting outside of the embargo on Moscow. They can't stop it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Because you got a phone.
Because you got a phone. The internet has allowed it so that nobody can buy up all the space anywhere anymore. Any large company can spend $40 billion on Facebook, and a guy with $150 or $300 can still compete in that world.
That's right.
And find his ability to reach an audience that he never could have reached before because it was all locked away on these other platforms.
Right.
We're in that era. And everybody is acting like we're not. Everybody is thinking in an old mentality and said, oh, and this is, it's taken me a while. I've been processing this for like 2.5 years now because I've been trying to think through this, like, where are we at? What's going on? The embargo, the gatekeepers, it's really been lifted in a way that we don't begin to understand.
Right.
We experience a little cancel culture and we're thinking, oh my goodness, we're limited. It's like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, no. You have the ability to reach anybody, everywhere, all the time against Goliaths and actually compete.
Yep.
They can't stop you anymore. And so now if you go back to print, there's limited resources.
Right.
But all of those, I just saw somewhere the other day that AOL still has about 1 million folks somewhere on there.
On their internet?
Email? Yeah, for dial-up. It was something crazy. Yeah. I was reading
dial-up?
For dial-up. Somebody's still using this somewhere. And I was like, and this is what's really hard to see. And this is, old covenant, new covenant. In that window, things could still be gone and not yet completely gone. Right? You don't need blood of animals anymore, and yet you still have sacrifices happening. Right? We're in the era now where we still have billboards, we still have magazines, we still have TV, we still have radio, but they're really not where. But the person who has the phone bypasses all of those. So that's the new world. That's the new covenant. That's the new reality that we're in. Okay, Gabe, I just wanted to set that up for you.
It was interesting. The Carl, probably his name's Carl, but he's the Carl. He says that this is kind of the same thing with banks and Bitcoin, where it's making it hard.
Yes,
for the
it's
government
getting
to control,
there. It's getting there.
Money
Decentralizing.
Yes, that's right.
And democratizing.
Yeah. Well, and so the mainstream media can bought up the billboards, right? They bought up the licensing. They did that for so long. And then now you got, I think Joe Rogan's the largest streamed platform, the most downloaded podcast in the world. Something like 11 million, which is just mind blowing. 11 million downloads per show, and everything. And so you have this embargo that's now opened up through the internet. And so what we're trying to do with the Fight Laugh Feast network is we want to use this opportunity, because I think in the next 20 years we're going to see a radical shift in media. We're going to see we're already seeing it, but you're going to see a massive tectonic shift, because
what's the shift?
So mainstream media, a legacy media, doesn't have the younger audience.
They don't matter anymore.
Fox gets 1.8 million views per night on their news network, and 1.8 million, only 150,000 of that 1.8 million views comes from the ages of 55 and younger.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. You're not going to exist in 20 years if you can't get the next generation, and Fox is not getting it. So I think, and I'm sure CNN's probably somewhere around that demographic. I'm sure, NBC, ABC, all that stuff is somewhere around that demographic. When is the last time you wanted to tune into a sitcom on ABC, NBC? They don't do that anymore. Like The Office, I think, was the last, sitcom I watched on NBC, and where I was like, oh, it's Thursday, 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
Office is going to be on. I'm going to watch it.
Yep.
Like streaming is changing everything. The internet is changing how we can consume our content and everything. And so I think
Has changed.
Yeah. And so I think over the next 20 years with what we're trying to do with the Fight Laugh Feast Network, I think we have a real opportunity, and I would say this for any podcast, any show that Christians are trying to push, is like get behind it and push. These next 20 years are super strategic for something like what we're doing. And so
I think it's faster.
You think it's gonna be
I don't
faster?
think I think 20 years is way too, we don't have any concept of what AI is going to do and bring to the table. And I think the way that we progress, I think you got to look at it more in the sense of like up until the time when man was created, up until about 2003, you have all that content there. At around 2003, that year following that, we had like done that and doubled the amount of information and content we've created since civilization. Yeah. Okay, do you understand? 2003.
Right.
We're doing that almost every day now.
Yeah.
We're doing that every day now.
Information is
Between the beginning of mankind, 6,000, 7,000 years, right? If you're creations, right? You do that kind of content, and we're doubling it. We have no idea now with AI and how it's going to be so helpful, how much we're going to double the content in the next 2 years. We had a beginning and now it's fast tracking. And so we're already, if you're not engaging at this level, you're already behind. And so I don't think it's going to be 20 years. Whatever in the 20 years is going to be so set. Like you have 5, maybe 3, maybe something like that. 3 to 5 years is the window.
Yeah.
And that's why you look right now on all the guys who are looking at AI and they're saying to themselves, we better invest $72 billion or $32 billion.
Why do you think that we only have 3 to 5 years if the internet and social media is breaking this wide open?
Because saturation. It won't be saturation in the sense of, so saturation is still important. People think they're going to be heard. Let me take it back here. When we started doing Facebook live streams, we got out there quicker because a lot of people had saturated the market.
Yeah.
Okay.
When Facebook live streams became so saturated, we didn't get as many views anymore because your feed went from looking like video to video. Right. The saturation market stops certain people from being able to be seen so much. Well, as people come into understanding what's going on, you're going to get a saturation. And so the companies are going to have a hard time, or individuals have a hard time getting a voice because my feed is going to be so saturated. You're going to have to produce more content to be able to show up in there.
Yeah.
Right. And so what Gabe is saying about being engaged is massively important because early adopters who start engaging and communicating are going to develop an audience that brings the algorithm more to them. So what's helped us is that we've developed an audience that when we live stream now, when people engage with us, they have been since
16.
16. Yeah.
But we didn't. I think live streaming really started
18, 19, something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a crowd that says this is important. The algorithm sees that and starts pushing it out to more people.
So there's a lot more billboards now.
Everywhere.
But the billboards, I mean, there's still only a certain number of billboards you can have in town.
Well, there's a certain amount of billboards you will give your attention to because of how good they are.
I mean, think of podcasts,
right? So you'll still get a lot of billboards.
Yeah.
You can put billboards everywhere. It's going to be the point where I'm going to walk into a place and the AI or whatever is going to know like that I was just searching for this and this store has it there at a good deal.
Yeah.
That's going to be you know what I mean? And they're going to say, hey, you were just looking for this. It's here if you want to grab it now.
Right.
Would you like us to order it for you so they can have it at the counter before you walk out?
Yeah.
Yes, I would. Thank you, Siri.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the way that we're going to start communicating will be faster, better, and it'll be tailor-made to what we need and want. Right. And so, which means
it's more like a Burger King have it your way kind of economy.
Which means you better be good at communicating to what people really need or you're not going to matter. Right. You have to know what people need. And if you don't do that, then in this new world, 20 years from now, you won't matter. And this is why you need to be really valuable to the person that's watching or listening to you.
Right.
What are you going to give them and bless them with that they say, thank you? Here's a test. I was just going, Gabe, I'm sorry, I'm taking over your show.
No.
I was just going through and watching myself. There's a guy who does great videos. I love his stuff. I've been watching him and I watch his videos and I laugh at it. And I might even share it with my wife or something like that, or share with you guys. Yeah. And then I noticed about the 40th video or so that I had not liked his video. And I had not commented on any of his videos. Yeah. And it hit me that this guy has been making content after content after content that I like, that I have not really engaged with to the point of commenting or liking. Yeah. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm consuming more than I'm engaging. And that's just the habit. But he did it so many times that he finally got me. And I was like, I really like this guy's stuff. And it made me think about how much we now need to engage and be a blessing to other people before they say, this is worth me even commenting on. This is worth me even liking. And it's like, that's the currency. Yeah. And there's a guy by the name of Gary V who's been talking about this. And he's been talking about this for 15 years now. But his new book that everybody should be reading when it comes out is called Day Trading Attention. That's what we're doing. That's where we're at, and that's the reality of the world that we're in. Right. And so legacy media, Gabe, is they're not going to have the effect they once had on society, just like the Pharisees don't. Right? Yeah. And that doesn't mean that there's not going to be issues in this new setup. It just doesn't have the same borders that it once had.
Hey, is Rachel Shannon a cousin?
Yeah, no, that's my sister.
Was that sis?
What's up, sis?
Hey,
yeah.
She said CrossPolitic's on fire today. Way to go, sis. Well, you think of like one of the reasons why I like the goal, the push on the network, is because it's a very subversive discipleship play. You're in everyone's house. You're
in everybody's pocket.
You're in everyone's pocket.
Your biz bigger than that now.
Mom and dad turn on the nightly news, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever. The kids stream, their cartoons or whatever.
There's no more nightly news.
There will always be nightly news.
There will always be moment
nightly news. Yeah. That's nightly news. That's why it was nightly.
Go ahead, you good.
The adjective just didn't work for you? Okay.
News is always happening, right?
Always, right. So, but to be able to be in, I should have done the research on this too. But how many TVs? How many mobile devices? Like you're on in everyone's back pocket, and with the network, people won't generally. The larger population won't generally turn on a sermon to hear or to listen to, but they will turn on the larger population will turn on news, or they'll turn on a sitcom, or they'll turn on, Sports Center. But to have the Jesus is Lord Sports Center, which my goal through the network is eventually start a sports center. Is you guys asked me, what was it, 3 or 4 months ago? You said if you had $1 billion, what would you do?
I thought that was a great answer.
I'd buy the Dallas Cowboys.
I thought that was a great answer.
Yeah, and Sports Center's the same way.
Yeah,
I remember when I was playing college basketball down in California. I had Sports Center on all day. Yeah. And it would repeat.
Yeah.
I still repeat shows, but there's moments that I'd come back to the TV because that was a great dunk. I want to see it again. That kind of thing. Right. But being able to bring the gospel and bring discipleship through all of Christ for all of life. That's why I like Mark Dewey in the bullpen on our network, talking baseball and Jesus.
Right.
And if you haven't listened to Mark Dewey in the bullpen, you have to, even if you don't like baseball. He's our best voice on the network. And best, I love the rhythm of what he does. Yeah. And
there's value in every sentence that he says.
It's so good.
Yep.
And your music, you made the music for his opening.
Just the opening,
and everything. And it's the noises, the sounds, the crack of the bat, everything with what Mark Dewey's doing. But I love the fact that, being able to talk about faith and baseball. Well, we got Major League Baseball players listening to our network now because of Mark.
Yeah.
And so being able to taking all these topics, sitcoms, hunting shows, we got a cooking show that we're working on, taking all these topics and bringing the Lordship of Christ through that, I think is one of the most subversive discipleship plays that we can run in the church right now.
I think one of the things that's really important for everybody to know too is that this is what made me think about it. Gabe, you said that you wouldn't turn on that show. There's not a show that people would turn on that's in their stream right now. I didn't know I needed to see Gordon Ramsay talking about everybody else's cooking or this other cook. I didn't know I needed to see this many It's in my stream, and I would have never gone to my TV and turned it on. And I'm watching now machines just drill holes with sounds connected to them because it looks cool.
Right.
I didn't know I needed to see that. And so I think this is the most amazing time to be alive, because finally everything that a human being does matters in more than one way, and they can make a living doing it and connecting with people that they never could have before. So in one sense, the Imago Dei is people who are made in the image of God are finding other people who love the things that they love, and they can make a living just making yarn. You can make yarn, you can post yarn, connect with people who love yarn and love to do stuff, whatever they do with yarn. And people who don't even know they like yarn, like watching you love liking yarn. Right?
I'm following you.
And that right there makes you 6 to 7, 8 figures a year so that you can make more stuff about yarn, and we're all better off for it. And so like, you have no limits. It's like, if you love something and you can do something, being able to put it out there and do it consistently gets you in front of people, and they say, wow, I didn't even know I love this. And you've been blessing me because now I can make yarn too. And I love your channel. And there's a person who's actually doing this, who is selling tickets at $60 a pop for you to have private meetings with them, and they can talk to you about how they're making their yarn and how you can make their yarn. And people are doing it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me. So we're only limited now by our ability to be creative and to love what we're doing. It's not, and if anybody's willing to work hard enough at that, we can make it. What are you reading something?
Pebbles. That's Pebels. Maybe I'm saying it.
I'm all up in your shot.
But Pebbles, said, let me know about the sports Christian stuff. I have a 13-year-old who could be a future journalist on that network. And that's actually, that brings me to the journalist thing. I would love, as part of our network and what we're doing, is actually get a journalist in every state. Have 50 journalists, one in every state. Maybe 57 journalists, according to Obama. One in every state. But because Christian journalism, I mean, we need more Christian journalists. What you've seen, I think it's pretty evident and pretty clear that legacy media has no problem lying to us anymore.
Right.
Like COVID was a very easy example that, the BLM riots were very easy. We made fun of this clip.
The moon landing.
We made.
Uh-oh.
I don't know. There we go. The flag was bending. All right. It did ripple. I saw it.
How'd the camera get there?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But it's pretty evident that the mainstream media will lie to you. And we made fun of the clip where CNN was covering a BLM riot.
Mostly peaceful protests.
Mostly peaceful protests, and the buildings on fire in the background.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Well, journalism, we've talked about the fourth estate before, but journalism is a very powerful way of holding society accountable.
Yeah.
And when you don't have the truth in you, then what you end up doing is your journalism ends up going to prop up the worldview that you want to prop up. And that's what journalism is now. It's not based on truth. It's based on kind of their narrative, their story, their worldview. And so we're fighting this. So I think having a journalist in every state would be so powerful. Plus it'd create content for our network, and be able to we'd be able to pay and support journalists to go do good work.
Gabe, think about this. You made me think about something I've never thought about before. We talk a little bit about being canceled during COVID, but just for a second, could you imagine if the only forms of media were the locked-in forms, and there was no social media?
Yeah.
Could you imagine COVID without social media?
Right.
I mean, think about that for a second. There's a lot of things that or internet. I mean, really, when I say internet, I'm thinking of that, but it's
the whole thing.
The whole king caboodle when I say social media.
Imagine being back in the 80s and COVID
and COVID happened.
Right.
Do you know how many people I've talked to who listen to our show said, I thought I was by myself and thought I was crazy until I found you guys a show, right? I mean, there would have been no pushback.
And no YouTube.
No YouTube.
No
it doesn't
YouTube
exist.
To go find podcasts or, or people talking about what they think's going on. Nothing. Like, it's just like, like U.S. mail.
Right. That's it.
You can write letters.
Maybe magazines.
And maybe magazines.
How many months before you get Joker?
Yeah. And newspapers, but newspapers are, really hit and miss. Yep. Also run by a lot of legacy media.
Yep.
If you're not making something, if you're not building something, if you're not engaging, communicating right now, then what you are not doing is using the blessings that God has given you. Yeah. Everybody's good at something. I'm watching so many people. I've been so impressed to watch so many people have talents, and then that I don't have, put them out there. And I'm like, this person's got more views than I could ever have. you know, and it's just amazing. Pastor Toby, you started a new show, and I just found out about it because I have the app, unlike some of y'all out there. Because y'all have them Android phones. The Fat Life Feast, yes. And what is it?
Well, it's Gabe asked me about this yesterday, but I teach a civics class.
Yes, I've been noticing for years.
For years, probably, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years. I can't remember when I first started. And so I decided, you know, I don't want to just keep this to myself. I don't want to just hide my light under my bushel. I want to let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. And so I decided that I was taking I'm going to take my talks, and I'm kind of reworking them into essays. And I started a Substack because apparently that's the new hotness.
Yeah, new journalism is there.
And so I'm doing a weekly essay on Reformed civics. I just entitled it Reformed Civics, nice and boring. But I'm just taking my notes and I'm working it into essays. I'm filling them out a little bit, adding a little bit of content areas that I probably would have filled out verbally in class, but I'm writing it out and then I'm publishing it. And then once a week, I'm reading one of them here into the camera.
Onto your YouTube channel.
And then that's getting uploaded, I think, on Saturdays to the YouTube channel, Having Two Legs. And I think the first one just came out this last Saturday on video and audio. And I think that's on the app too, I assume. The Fight Life Feast app. That's where you found it.
Yep.
Someone, Mr. F said he would get the FLF app if Knox takes that Iron Man looking watch off.
Who said that? Who said that?
Mr. F. I don't know. This is Mr.
F. If you change your name to a real name and stop hiding behind social media.
Oh, that's funny.
Maybe I take my watch off. Somebody likes protection. He's talking about my watch.
He's talking about that watch.
It's just kind of big.
It is. I'm a man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Iron Man. What's wrong with an Iron Man watch?
You know what? So here's the thing. Here's what I learned.
It doubles as a weapon.
That's funny.
How'd you know?
I'm just thinking.
It looks like it. Pastor.
I know you.
That's exactly right.
You.
Sometimes you travel and you can't take all your artillery with you. And so I like to have
weapons. You said no.
Nope.
I got no weapons. Just this watch.
So I like to travel with things that I can use as weapons if I need to.
And he said his name. He said his name. Michael Feliciano.
Okay,
Michael.
He's laughing.
I bet you if that is your real name, Michael. I don't know if that's your real name. That's his name you said. It says Mr. F though, right?
Yeah, Mr. F.
I guess he's used his last name.
Yeah. Anyways,
sounds like
Lindsay wants to see the watch, so you need to show everybody the watch now.
I just showed the watch. It's just an Apple Watch, people.
Yeah, that's all.
That's like not just.
I feel like you could turn it into a nunchuck.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's pretty. It's pretty hefty.
Pull it out.
I mean, does it come apart and there's like a little gun and bullets and stuff?
Look here. I'll let you see.
Oh my goodness! And that, like, dude, you're like lifting weights.
I know.
That's why you've been looking a little buffer.
Well, you know.
You've been getting those gains. I heard about that.
Okay, I didn't know that was going to be a topic.
That's heavy.
That's heavy, dude. Watch out for my left hook. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, my goodness.
That is funny, man.
Oh, my goodness.
Mr. F, why? This is the problem.
You disappeared for like a week or two and you come back with this like nunchuck watch.
We're up here having a conversation about the importance of social media, AI, the shows we're building in the network. And Mr. F, the only thing he can focus on is my watch.
Yeah, well, it's a little distracting. It's a little distracting.
I'm hiding it. So people can't see it.
Anyways.
So why are you teaching it? So
Reformed civics.
Because
I think this is one of those areas that Christians are woefully under taught. And it's one of the reasons why we started CrossPolitic in the beginning was we realized that Christians primarily get educated with regard to civics and politics in the public square by Rush Limbaugh.
That's right.
And this has been something that Gabe said from the beginning, that this is like the Christians go to church and all they get is, at best
a weak gospel.
Jesus died for your sins, which is glorious and true, but that's only a part of what the Bible teaches us. And once you've had your sins forgiven, once you've been made right with God, you've got a life to live. Mm-hmm. And one of the spheres of life that God's given us to live is in the public square. And this is one of the governments that God has established, and we know virtually nothing.
Yeah.
And again, the best that people frequently get now is, if it's not from legacy media, it's like conservative radio, conservative talk radio, conservative Twitter, which is a real mixed bag. And so, but the Bible actually has a ton to say about politics, about
economics,
civics, about civil justice, about magistrates. And so I just thought, well, I've been teaching on it. This is not everything, but this is an introduction to thinking biblically about the public square, about civics, about politics. And so I'm just starting it. Like basically, it's the overarching. There's about 25 lectures, about 20. So there'll be about 25 essays.
Ooh.
This is all done.
Okay.
I just published number 5 today. 20 more to go.
Oh wow,
he's plugged
one a week.
Yeah.
And so, but I started in Genesis with like the first one that I think just got uploaded is Order or Chaos. There's like fundamental sort of presuppositions.
Yep.
I've been talking about the basic Old Testament standards of justice. Today I published one on different kinds of law, moral, ceremonial, judicial law. Talked about the general equity principle from the Westminster and an introduction to natural law. And the subtitle was "Why Can't We Be Friends?"
I'd be curious.
You know what? This is
That's
okay.
fair.
Go
I'd
ahead.
be curious. Hang on, real quick, from our audience. Like, where have they been consuming? Where have you been consuming like your news, kind of your like political intake? Are you guys? Does anybody watch legacy media in our audience? It'd be interesting to hear y'all's
No,
feedback.
that's not the real question.
Or do you even care?
That's not the real question. We got about 600 people watching right now. Don't y'all have jobs? That's the question. I want to know why at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, our time. What are y'all doing? I guess media's changed everything. People can work wherever they want to right now.
Yeah, they're working from home.
So someone, Tucker Carlson Network is one of them.
I want to know, is that
That's
One
KB,
in a Million?
KB.
Is that one? Okay.
One in a Million? He's
What's up, Juan?
He stopped watching Fox Network a long time ago.
That's because he's a Christian. Pastor, you know what was interesting? So I don't usually talk to you about pastor and stuff because, you have a flock and we're local and people listen and all that stuff like that. So it's about to come. I'm just warming you up. But so I kind of keep those things separate. But I find it interesting that there's 2 classes that you teach here at CrossPolitic, or 2 things that you do. You do our show.
KB's at home raising children and washing dishes. Okay, Knox at
Oh,
home.
she's
All right.
winning.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, KB. And then you do Proverbs with Pastor Toby, the CrossPolitic show, and now the civics.
Yeah.
I see why you do Proverbs.
Yeah.
As a pastor, counseling people and working through things with people, for you to decide to say civics is the next thing here.
Jeremiah says, I work from home for an Amish boss who will never see this.
Jeremiah, you just want the internet.
That wins the day.
But Jeremiah, you know that God does.
Oh.
Just I'm a pastor on the show here, so just go.
Do you think that
That's
even with
fun.
all the pastoring that you do, you still find the fact that you decide to choose civics as a way to engage, you still find that that's a huge part of what people are missing in their
Absolutely. And part of this is, again, I'm thinking about governments in an important way. So I'm focused on what does God say about the civil government. But necessarily in our day and age, the only way you can talk about civil government, you have to disentangle the family government and the church government.
Yeah,
yes.
right.
Constantly. Come on now. Yeah. Come on.
So I mean, you're constantly, I mean, our high places, our holy shrines is statism.
Yeah.
And so we take everything to the state. We think everything is supposed to be done by the government. Yeah. And so a big part of teaching on biblical civics, reformed civics, is saying, no, that's the family's job. No, that's also the family's job. No, that's also the family's job.
Stop it.
No,
family's
that's
job.
the church's job. That's the church's job. And so that's why I say I see it being really central to the task of the Great Commission. The Great Commission is to disciple the nations. Baptizing them, teaching everything, and so a big part of where you have to a pastor has to situate himself at the basic. At one of the places he's got to situate himself is at the biggest pagan shrines, and because you're calling out idolatry, and our idol is the state. Our idol is centralized government, and so my job is to declare that Jesus Christ is Lord, and He's Lord here. And so you need to stop looking to the state for that. You need to go back home. You need to look to your husband. You need to look to your parents. You need to look to your siblings. And then you need to look to your brothers and sisters in Christ. You need to look to the pastors. You need to look to the elders. And so that's a big part of what needs to be done. And I think also there's parallel principles that also apply. We were talking to Rich Lusk right before this, and he was talking about the need for discipleship in our homes and in our churches, because how are we going to be able to do this in the public square if we can't do it there? And we can't. And he pointed out the example of I think Christians are probably the most politically engaged and the most politically unified on the life issue,
right.
And we're still sucking.
Yeah, that's true.
You take what are we the best at? What have we've been working the hardest at for the last 50 years? Trying to get them to stop killing babies. And we're not we're not unified on that. We don't understand what the Bible teaches. And he was pointing out that even in Alabama, one of the reddest states, despite the fact that they got a glorious Supreme Court ruling on IVF, he said they quoted Thomas Aquinas and John Calvin and the Bible and all these glorious things. The Christian Republican governor and legislature immediately within 5 days had overturned the ruling and basically carved out protections for the murder of IVF babies. It's so that's the state of the Christian church. That's the state of discipleship in America if one of the most Christian states in the union can't get IVF
and so what has happened is we've basically been curating a truncated lordship view or hermeneutic out of the Bible, where we're only applying the lordship of Christ to the gospel and to our own hearts, and we haven't been applying it to everywhere else. And that's how we've gotten that confusing definition of church, state, and family, is because we haven't been applying the lordship of Christ over it.
And fundamentally, that means we're not reading the whole Bible. We're just not reading the Bible.
How biblically illiterate is the church right now?
Very.
Rhetorical question loading in 3.
We're absolute fools. I mean that would be the biblical word for it.
Isn't Hosea 6:4? My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that's what we're seeing here in America.
Pastors refuse to preach the whole Bible.
You
get snippets.
That's right.
You get snippets of Bible, a little bit of Bible sprinkled on top of here's what I was thinking about this week.
Right.
Or late night comedy shows.
They don't have that luxury anymore, though.
Yeah.
I think they've lost that luck after COVID. They lost that luxury a little bit,
dude. They're still doing it.
I know they're still doing it, but I think
they're like, there's, Mark Driscoll's going to conferences where they've got male strippers. And Mark Driscoll's one of the better pastors.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, and that's not like a full-on endorsement. I'm just saying,
point taken.
You're going to get more Bible.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, I'll come back and I'll say, Knox, you're right. I think COVID has helped. I think 2.0. I've been wanting that for a while.
I
praying for it. Yeah.
I have been. Yeah.
No, but we need God to shake this more. I think we're seeing where people are saying, okay, the Bible has something to say about wokeness. The Bible has something to say about anti-Semitism. The Bible has something to say about sexual confusion.
Yeah.
The Bible has something to say about what the magistrate may and may not do.
Right.
The churches that are preaching the Bible like that are growing.
Yeah. Go ahead, Pastor.
But unfortunately, the churches with male strippers are still growing.
Is that? In my head, I just heard Paul tell Timothy, their end will be like Janus and Jambres, but you, Timothy, continue into what I told you to do, right? And the word that I taught you, when you said that, it just hit me. It's like, no, you're right. They're going to happen, but they have an end. It's funny, as I was listening to you talk, there's something that's the wokeness that came before COVID began to make people think more Christian about their ethics. Even Ligon Duncan had to admit that.
Yeah, right. What is the biblical principles for dealing with racial animosity and racial injustice?
We've had the theonomists back in the day trying to tell us we should be thinking like this about everything.
Right.
And we had warnings coming from, Schaefer.
Yeah.
We had the people telling us, hey, this is the direction we're going if we're not thinking biblical about this. And all of a sudden, the storm hit us. and you saw the first wave. I think the woke culture stuff was kind of the first wave of whatever COVID it was.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw everybody go, whoa, that's a strong wind.
Mm-hmm.
And then you saw people say, I wonder if the Bible has anything to say about this. And then they started digging in and we're like, okay, they do know how to use their Bibles.
Right.
Then COVID happened. And some of the people who were standing strong on the woke stuff didn't have an answer for COVID. And then they waffled.
Right.
And I've only seen maybe three pastors publicly say, man, I got that wrong.
Yep.
I got that wrong, and I'm sorry.
Few and far between.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so there's been kind of this, and I'm praising God for this, but there's been a way you say, we really need to go back and say, what is it? And so I think there's another wave that's coming, and 2024, here's the political side of things, right? That's coming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the answer right now, I mean, you're right. So you got the early BLM, I guess, like Ferguson.
Sure.
What were some of the other things?
Trayvon Martin, Ferguson, those things.
But you had some of those early things with some riots, some protests, some, any clashes, and so that's like the first stuff.
Yep.
Where you've got this, like, we need to deal with this. How do we deal with this, like Christians? How do we deal this? And it's a mixed bag across the board. But some are starting to say, I got to study my Bible.
Right.
I got to have answers for this. COVID hits. There's your next big one, and of course it's more international, more profound in many respects. It shakes. People wake up, but right now we have these Palestinian riots going on.
Oh, that's good.
Which is BLM 2.0.
Right.
I mean, you know this. I mean, there's outside funding. There's hired thugs,
coordinated effort.
People are showing up who are not students, but they think that this is a way to steer culture, and it has been to some extent. But again, you have, like, God is giving us these opportunities, storms, and giving us opportunities to go back to his word, study his word, and say, what does his word say? Mm-hmm. What does his word say? And people are flunking. Yeah. Up and down. You've got the people who are flunking in the name of, the Matt Chandlers early on, who are like, we need to get the black 7 or whatever it was, or the black
white 8. Black 7, white 8. I don't remember. Anglo-Saxon 8.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's like okay, flunk. You failed the test. Are there racial tensions? Are there racial animosity at various places in our country? Yes, there is. Yeah. But the answer is not to join. It's not to do a Christian affirmative action. Right. It's not to that's DEI.
Right.
Like Matt Chandler is doing DEI, like proto DEI, and then you have the COVID bomb goes off. And it's like, again, what are you going to do? Who has the authority? Who has the authority to shut down churches? Who has the authority to tell you
who's in charge?
Take medicine. Who has the authority to put something, tell you to have something on your face?
Yep.
And a bunch of churches failed.
Right.
With the minority saying, wait, no, you don't have authority here. The elders have authority over worship. You can't tell us how far to stand apart in church. You can't tell us whether we sing or celebrate communion or not. Johnny Mack's church, he,
Yep.
That's
he's one of the few
who reverses course after a few weeks or month or whatever. It was not very long, and he says, "Hey, never mind. This is the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ."
Yep.
There's still a bunch of people though that haven't repented of that, and now we have people flunking again, buying into this basic Marxist narrative that says this is they've applied this to race. They've applied it to the Jews. They've applied it, whatever.
Yeah.
And
it's easy for us to jump right into.
And people are not thinking. They're not going to the Bible and saying, what does the Bible say about these, anti-Israeli protests? Like, we need to go to the Bible.
It's amazing to me to watch how BLM was like, hey, we're a racist nation. What about us? And then to go right into the Palestinian protest and them shouting, kill the Jews. Like where is this crazy train going when they're fighting, for some sort of, fair treatment over here?
Because this is the cultural Marxism. They're still running the exact same play. They're saying the Israelis are the oppressors and the Palestinians are the victims.
Yep.
And the victims, if they really are victims, then they have the right to scream.
Yep.
They have the right to express their animosity, their hatred, even in violent ways, because you have to understand they're victims.
That's why I'm trying to tell my Christian nationalist brothers, don't take the bait.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's they're up next.
Right.
Like they're actually in the process right now.
And this is one of the other ways they're doing it, though, is they are in the process. They're doing it right now, where I just tweeted out this morning about everybody, you need to remember, all the anti-white stuff is driven by anti-Christianity.
Right.
That's right.
Okay. And I'm not saying that nobody ever like actually descends into just hardcore white hatred. Yeah, I know people do that. But what I'm saying is that what it actually is, what it fundamentally is a hatred of Christ, a hatred of Christianity.
Right.
But they're doing the same thing with the Jews too. The Jews thing. They're taking the bait.
Yeah.
Well,
and because the narrative is that the Jews are the powerful ones who use their power to do evil things, and therefore we are justified in hating them.
Yeah.
And no, bad Jews are bad, and good Jews are just not Christians.
Yeah.
This is the whole reason that I started doing Knox Unplugged with Jason Farley, because I started to see I wasn't thinking about my thinking very well, and so I had a reactionary response, not trying to be reactionary. I just wanted to respond to what was going on, but I had a reactionary response that was their position, but on the other side. Instead of actually to the woke stuff, whatever it was, right?
Okay.
Like, so right now, so when we had Andrew Isker on, I wasn't here for the show, but you guys had a great conversation with him. And there was this one thing that I wish I could have asked him. And I think one of you asked, say, hey, how do you feel about some of the guys who are anti-Semitic and some of the guys who are white boy summer? You seem to have some, he's like, yeah, I'm having patience for them because they're getting attacked. And they're what they think they should have for them has kind of been taken away. And they're under a lot of, he basically, to me, described how young black men have grown up in America.
Right.
Really? Right? Look at, go back to the 40s and the 50s and the 60s.
Right.
Don't forget, they just start voting in 65, after 65. Like, come on, like anybody can use that argument.
Right.
So then why don't you have patience for the guys who are over here who've had the longer generations of that going on?
Right.
Some of this is just starting over here.
Yeah.
So my point is, nobody should be taking the bait.
Right. No, and we can have compassion. Like, there's room for compassion for people who misunderstand, who got hurt, who been mistreated.
But don't show partiality in your compassion.
That's right. Don't show partiality.
Because if you're sitting over here, you're looking at these guys saying, and I know, I feel them. Trust me. When they're saying,
and so I want to do the same thing with Jews.
Yes, that's my point.
And I want to do the same thing with white supremacists.
That's right.
And I want to do the same thing with my black brothers who grew up mistreated by cops.
That's the whole point, right?
Impartiality.
Because
and this is why I'm talking about reform civics. Justice.
Yep.
Equal weights and measures.
That's right.
Justice is blind. Justice is blind. Lady Justice in all the pictures is blindfolded, or her eyes are gouged out.
Right.
That's right.
And she's holding a sword, and she's holding scales.
Right.
Those scales are the same no matter where you came from, no matter what happened to you. They're the same. And that's justice.
That's right.
That's justice. And so that's the point is, whatever measure you use, you want it to be the kind of measure that you could measure back to yourself.
Right.
I mean, that's what Jesus said.
Right.
With the measure you use, it will be measured back. Now, that's not, of course, judge not lest you be judged has been weaponized so that, only the left is allowed to judge. Only liberals are allowed to judge. No, we're not. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is be just.
Right.
The measure you're using, can you measure it across the board? The measure you're using, can you measure it with everybody? Everybody. Your enemies, your friends, you. That's the deal. And that's why we got to keep coming back to biblical justice.
If we don't have a Christian mindset, a real Christian mindset, not one that, well, I'm Christian, so I think the way that I think is okay. No. In the Word of God, what does the Word of God say? The Word of God actually has answers for these. Yeah. This is why I love your course, because literally the Word of God spells out how to do these things, but y'all don't like reading Leviticus. Y'all don't like reading Numbers and Deuteronomy. Yeah. You guys, so you don't like it, so you don't understand it.
Here's one of the ways to ask the question. Okay. A group of people is trying to break into a building. What should happen? And now, if you need to know who they are,
I was going to ask what color.
Yeah.
I was going to say, well, depends.
Yeah, right.
Well, if you use the word break into a building.
Right. No, a group of people are trying to break into a building.
Muslim invaders?
It doesn't matter because a crime is being committed.
That's right.
Right? It doesn't. And
do they hate the people in the building?
I didn't say that. Of course they do, because they're breaking into the building. That's hatred.
Exactly.
That is hatred.
That is hatred.
You're not loving your brother. You're not protecting private property. That is hatred, and that's a crime. And it doesn't matter what they look like or where they came from.
Yeah.
They're breaking
into a building.
I said this off air earlier, and I'm happy to say it right here on the air. I think we can make a compromise. Okay, you got the
I'm out.
You got
like that.
Is this a third way?
This is the third way. This is the hummus people third way.
Hummus people. Please interpret that.
The Hamas.
I
call them hummus people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't take them that seriously. The Hamas are doing these protests on public universities throughout the U.S. right now.
Yeah.
So here's what I think: we should let them burn the public universities down, and then we should deport them. That's my compromise. Hey, you guys, where's my camera? Where's my camera? Like, that's the best compromise you've heard about this whole thing ever.
Why is huh?
Let them burn down the public universities and then we deport them.
I don't like that.
Yeah,
I don't like that. I don't think that.
Yeah,
no.
I'm just trying to find middle ground. Okay,
you're trying to cut the baby in half.
First of all,
I cut the baby in half.
That's not justice. I don't know if they need to be deported.
But that's kind of besides the point, because I think I could talk both sides into that.
I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
Did you just hear Pastor Toby talk about
the justice? I know.
Yeah, justice. Yeah. Here's the thing, but I think so. There's always the temptation to do that. Is like
split the baby.
Let's just burn it down. Let's just burn. And I
splitting the best. Not
Victor
splitting the baby.
got it. He's got it. He's like, destroy the woke university.
Victor, I'm going to deport you.
No, I got it. I know what you're talking about. But I think the problem is that that's actually playing into the revolutionary mindset.
Yeah.
This goes back to, goes way back further than this, but I would just say you need to study in history the difference between the American Revolution and the French Revolution.
Yeah.
The War for Independence was a completely different animal.
Not if you ask people from Britain.
Than the French Revolution, except Edmund Burke.
Well, they kind of butthurt a little bit.
No. Edmund Burke was a strong voice.
Yeah.
And he was not a supporter per se of the War for Independence.
Yeah. Right.
I think he wanted us to remain colonies.
He understood it.
But he at least understood it and understood it was different than what they were doing in France under Rousseau and Robespierre.
I even think he thought at points it was valid, that the arguments were valid.
I think he was appreciative of the arguments. But I'm just like, we need to understand the difference between those two things. America wanted to be left alone. They wanted to be left free to continue their ways. They wanted to be left to continue English common law system. They wanted to left to be continue to keep their colonial charters that they had from the king. It was entirely a conservative, defensive maneuver.
Yeah.
Leave us alone so that we can keep doing our thing. The French wanted to burn everything down.
Yeah.
It was guillotine everything.
Yep.
And burn it to the ground. And that's why I think
work culture. Yep.
I think despite the fact that I get what you're getting at, Gabe, that burn the woke universities down and then deport them. I think what you were inviting in there though is like you're trying to get halfway there with the guillotine. You're trying to get halfway, and I think what we need is reformation,
right?
Not revolution. We need reformation, not revolution.
That's right.
Which will entail massive transformation of universities,
right?
And
well, I'm gonna tell you something. If you're not, it doesn't take people long before they have to go through spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for education that somebody who is 14 or 15 on TikTok makes more money than them. Doesn't take long before that goes away.
Yeah.
This goes back to our social media. This goes right back to it. Right.
Old covenant, new covenant.
What'd you say, Neil?
We'll get it. Don't worry about it. We'll get it.
Okay. And so eventually, this is one of the things I love about why, when you talk about cosmology and how God made the world, you can only go so far off before it just
stupidity doesn't work.
It doesn't work long term, right?
Yeah,
And so they're going to be irrelevant to the point they don't work because people are going to say, I'm not spending $300,000 on an education that I'm not going to be able to pay that back And I'm going to be.
We've talked to Andrew Krabischutz and others about this. You know, he's at Red Balloon, and they're talking like he did that kind of poll survey, and businesses, especially conservative businesses, are now saying, like, basically, if you got a university degree, it's a toss up of whether whether that's actually helpful or a liability.
And
because they had surveys where some of the businesses saying, I don't want someone with a 4-year degree.
The fact that you have a 4-year degree for some businesses is actually a turnoff. And like, for I'm not sure about you.
I don't want to re-educate that guy. We got a couple questions here I want to get
to. Go ahead.
One is, this is back to Mr. F. He said he deleted all of his social media years ago because of sinful content that bombards us daily. As Christians, how can you decide whether that would be wise to avoid for use versus spreading the gospel? How do you avoid it, or do you use it for spreading the gospel?
Okay, Pastor, I'll let you, as a pastor, I think you need to answer that question for him.
I'll say, first of all, like all tools, you need to rule it and not allow it to rule you.
That's right.
And so you ought to have certain safeguards in place to make sure that you're not getting sucked into it. Back in the day, it was cable TV, just sitting in front of a cable television. Turn it off. Don't put the TV in the front of everybody. There's certain things you can do to put limits on it. So you rule the tool. Don't let the tool rule you. Secondarily, actually, interestingly, there's the algorithms are trying to give you what they think you want, and so there's also a way in which you're training the social media.
Come on now.
To give you what you want. And if you're, I don't know, does it have to do with like how long you look at an ad, or like
there's all sorts of different variations.
They can tell if your eyes are looking at something or whatever, but like you are, and obviously this takes maturity, and this takes self-control and self-government. And you don't just give a 13-year-old a smartphone and say, good luck. I do not recommend that at all. But for you as an adult, if you're stopping and staring at an ad that you shouldn't be staring at, you're telling Twitter you want more of that.
Right. Yep.
And there's also usually an X in the corner that says, I'm not interested.
Yep.
And you're telling the algorithm, I'm not interested.
Yep.
And you should exercise that power a lot.
Yeah.
And over time, you'll find that they're actually, they're giving you chainsaw ads. And ads for what
my kids get on my YouTube channel, and
real quick.
I know real quick. I was like, dude, perfect. It's like I'm listening to Tucker Carlson or whatever on my YouTube channel, then I see like all these cat videos pop up.
Yeah, but this goes back to what Gabe or what Knox was saying earlier. Like there actually is like the AI or whatever algorithms that are trying to show you things that they think you think will be cool. Like Knox apparently watches like knitting stuff all the time.
AMSR stuff. I see all kinds of stuff.
Right. But the stuff that you're into, they'll want to show you more. And I would say in that sense, it's actually can be a tremendous gift.
Yeah.
Because what you'll find is then it's actually the internet gods, the algorithms are sending you stuff that you actually are interested in. It's theological content, it's gospel content, it's cultural engagement content, or even just the cool stuff of nature content. Like, I do like, some crazy animal videos. I stop and like, that crocodile's going to eat the cheetah.
I know.
It's going to eat the cheetah.
Let's go.
I'm here for that.
I am, my Instagram, I don't use Instagram very much, but when I do, it's laced with barbecue videos.
Yeah.
I go to Instagram for like my barbecue stuff.
Instagram is tricky, but I have to actively be telling if anything comes close, I don't. Okay, nope. I was very uncomfortable.
Yes.
Make me feel have to train. You do have to train it, and that's one thing that we really not paying attention to. Guys, we have a piece of device that we can train to be good servants for us.
Yeah.
And so, I think that was really good. What was your next question?
The next question actually from Lindsay, and then we got to kind of wrap this up. I'm hungry.
Dude, I'm hungry.
Why is it a trend for conservatives to give the mic back to questionable voices, like Andrew Tate? And I would say, so why is it a trend? Tucker Carlson interviewed Andrew Tate. Candace Owens interviewed Andrew Tate. There's some, first of all, they aren't giving Andrew Tate a platform. Andrew Tate already has a platform.
I was going to say,
it's more about, I think, how you handle the interview and how you, and the questions you ask and how you're thinking about the interview. I would actually love to sit down with Andrew Tate. I wouldn't have a problem sitting down with him and talking to him and cornering him.
But that's not the problem. The problem is with that is that most people who asked the question?
That was Lindsay Rose.
So Lindsay probably wouldn't like that interview as much because when we actually, there's this conference, this goes back to the worldview. Our worldview is like when we see somebody that we don't share the same theological positions with, the way that we think about it now is like, let's bam, 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 bam.
Yeah, right.
But there's no rhetoric
Yeah.
to actually getting to that person, say that's a person made in the image of God. How do we have a conversation with them?
It's like you don't just get an interview and start fighting.
A lot of people didn't like the conversation that we had with Clavin.
Right. Andrew Clavin.
Right. And it's because there's different, we don't understand all the tools being used, and it doesn't stop just with that interview. So I think that what people want is they want a war to happen, and they want to see their side win. So I think that's a huge part of it.
And this goes back to the revolution versus Reformation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Those who only think in terms of revolution, only think in terms of power.
That's a good application here, Toby.
They all you have is basically either friends or enemies. You have on, off. You're with me or you're against me.
Right, right.
And that's not really true. That's not the only options we have. I preached on this on Sunday, the end of Acts 15, where Paul and Barnabas go separate ways. And but all the indications are that they, even though they couldn't work together, they still recognized they still have deep respect for one another. They were still in fellowship. And I was just talking about the fact that we have to grow up into maturity, particularly a kind of mission maturity. And what I mean by that is recognizing that not all differences are fatal, not all disagreements are heresy. And we have to have more of a dimmer switch there. And that's where I think somebody like Andrew Clavin comes in, and you say, okay, here's differences. We disagree here. That's no, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's right. But I can see where you're making a point here, and I can see where you're asking a decent question there. And there's different ways in which you would actually work together with some people, and there's other people where you say, look, God bless you. I'll meet you at the finish line. Like we can't work together, but God bless you. And then, of course, there are people who really are enemies. Yeah. But even then, you love them as image bearers, because Jesus says, love your enemies, do good to them, want good for them. And so, but we really need to grow up into a maturity that recognizes there's really is a dimmer switch, and different kinds of missions require. I mean, so is this guy in your family? Like, well, then you're gonna have to probably go to Thanksgiving dinner with him.
Can I say something else too, just on that? You got to remember that old world is done. You're not stopping him from being public either.
Which old world?
The old world of like, if you put Andrew Tate on your show, you just that's over.
Yeah.
You understand? You need to stop thinking like that. You just platform that guy. Stop it. He has a cell phone.
Yeah.
Okay. Seriously. Yeah. He has a cell phone.
And
gazillions of people that and this is, you need to be more like this when we have this conversation. Are you the contagious one? And if you're concerned about putting somebody else on because you might platform them, then you're not the contagious one.
Yeah.
And that's the real problem.
Right.
It's not whether or not people, no. The question is, I've watched this with some of my friends. Are people going to see you? Right? That's who they need to be afraid of, is the contagious one, because that person is going to be so winning to the other people. They're going to be like, I like that guy. I would have never found him apart from this is really good. Right? But you're not Andrew Tate. If anybody else comes in the show, this is what Andrew Clavin is like. We're not platforming Andrew Clavin. Like, he's good. Right?
If anything, he's platforming.
But that's really not even the context we need to be thinking in anymore. That's gone. That's done.
He's a friend.
He's a friend. Anybody can show cats and be out there and platform. Everybody's platformed. Yeah. Just for the record, if you have a cell phone, even an Android, you're platformed.
Even Androids?
Even Androids. Oh. They have cameras.
Oh.
Okay.
So Mount Athos. I'm supposed to read this. Mount Athos Performance was created to support your quest for excellence in body, mind, and soul. Here on the Holy Mountain, we believe that true strength is not measured in gains, but rather in, it's all caps, that's why I say it like that, rather in pursuing anti-fragile longevity, mental resilience, and a rejection of the soul-destroying hedonism of the modern fitness culture. I love that line. From energizing pre-workouts to muscle-building protein made from goats, Mount Athos Performance has everything you need to supplement the holistic foundation of authentic strength and vitality you are building. These supplements also uniquely feature the historic goodness of, yes, grass-fed goat whey made in the Pacific Northwest. Visit athosperform.com/FLF today to discover the supplements built on purity, sustainability, and the pursuit of excellence. athosperform.com/FLF.
You done?
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah.
Well, if you're single, get
hungry.
married. If you're married, have you some kids. If you have kids, go baptize them. Until next week, love God with, tomorrow. Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. You liking these lives? I'm enjoying them. These are fun.
Everybody for tuning in.
Yeah,
We got up to about 900 people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Zooming in, tuning in. Thanks for commenting.
It's CrossPolitic.
It's good to hang with you guys.
This is fun.
What we must be is a people that are ready to war for truth, for righteousness, for the kingdom. In short, what we need to do is we need to dress up for the occasion, ladies and gentlemen. To forsake the cliches of the secular and the cliches of the Christian culture. And we need to march to a different tune that's led by angelic choirs rather than masqueraded demons. Because Satan knows the crucial target. He's seen the war. He knows where to target. He has inspected the holy places. He knows where the weaknesses of your faith are. And so we uphold it. We defend the faith together this week. We defend the faith once and for all, delivered to the saints. We need to understand what precisely are the devil's schemes. We need to learn to speak the truth boldly. We need to fight for the kingdom and to live rightly in the sight of God and man. And so this evening and throughout this week, you are called to be a priestly people. The kind of priestly people that engages the darkest enemy that you'll ever engage. And you're going to engage the darkest enemy, whose name we know, Satan. And we're going to engage him we're going to engage him by wearing our baptismal attire, by wearing that which God has given us. We carry the name of Jesus wherever we go because Jesus is our righteousness.
In a world grappling with joblessness, broken homes, and a crisis of purpose, we ask, why does work matter?
There are 1,000 answers to that. The one I like is that work makes us like God.
Well, because God works.
Work matters because you are a provider, and work gives you an avenue for providing for your family.
But that question betrays that a job's not just a 9-to-5 hobby, right? It's an opportunity to bless people. It's an opportunity to bless people at scale.
But the reality is that money is intensely important to Dominion.
I'm Kyle Hessler. I'm a salesman, real estate investor, wrestling promoter, father, husband, and a Christian. And I want to invite you to the first ever Workspace Conference in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, where we aim to glorify God through our work. Come and learn from speakers David Bonson, C.R. Wiley, Steve Jeffrey, David Reese, and Andrew Krapuschitz as we explore the theology of work, how vocations shape cultural dominion, understanding risk, and how to invest not just now, but in future generations. This conference is about action, not just theories. Join us for a prime hub of networking, career growth, and fellowship. We are building a community of impactful connections and collaborative endeavors that seek to extend beyond a single weekend. Join us June 28th and 29th at the Hilton in downtown Fort Worth, Texas. Tickets available at workspace.com. This is more than just a conference. This is a commitment to glorifying God in our work, because we aren't saved by our good works. We are saved by Christ for our good works.
Media is falling apart, and as it crumbles, a void is opening, a void that we intend to fill. The big legacy news networks currently average just 1.2 million viewers a weeknight, and those numbers are only going to get lower. Legacy media is dying, and the younger generation has moved on. Legacy media panders. Legacy media lies. Legacy media does not know what the truth is, and they don't care about it. Legacy media is a dumpster fire. This is why we few in our wild imaginations have started the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Our goal is to take down the legacy media giant of the last 50 years with our 5 stones. We started in 2016 with our flagship show, CrossPolitic. Since those small beginnings, we now air on DirecTV. Our broader podcast network now gets over 4 million downloads a year. And our Fight Laugh Feast Pub, which includes TV shows like This America, The Rowdy Christian's Guide, Pastors in Politics, and As the Lord Pleases, with your support, many more to come. Our goal is to become the flagship new media 2.0 network over the next 50 years and take over nightly news, sports, sitcoms, hunting shows, and more, all conveniently stored for you in our Fight Laugh Feast Pub. We're already reaching the next generation through our podcast shows on YouTube, X, and our pub, while also tapping into legacy media audiences by airing our shows on TV through DirecTV and Xfinity. We have made a lot of progress with some duct tape and a good bit of intuition and a lot of sweat. And now we need your support more than ever. The TV networks have had such a negative impact on our households, and we're trying, by the grace of God, to put a stop to that. We have the opportunity. We just need the army. Now more than ever, we need you to join our pub to help us reach our goal of 1 million pub supporters in the next 5 years. There's no way around it. Competing with Fox and the Alphabet networks without money is virtually impossible. It's cheap for you to join. And when you do, you're combining your small monthly support with a growing army of like-minded Christians. We have thousands, we need millions. So if you want more of the Alphabet network's misinformation and lies, then don't join. But if you want to give us a mere 5 stones, then please join the pub, and together we will take a swing at the head of big media, all the while fighting, laughing, and feasting to the glory of God.